The call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the show. Game day is upon us once again. Might not carry as much spotlight as the last one did. I think that's fair to say, but buddy, it's every bit as important of an opportunity here for the Razorbacks. You know, John Calipari, he plays the hits for us, right? He's a repeater of certain phrases that he's coined, and he loves to tell his team to write its own story. How many times have you heard him say that recently? I tell you what, though, if the Razorbacks follow up what they did in Lexington by taking the same show on the road to Austin, Texas, the title of the most recent chapter of this story can be The Turnaround, right? This is a big one, folks. Arkansas, Texas, Moody Center, 8 p.m., ESPN2. What's with all these late tips, by the way? I mean, we're even getting late tips now on Saturdays. I think it was 7:30 Saturday for Oklahoma. It was 9 o'clock local time, I guess 8 o'clock Central, out there in Lexington. I think it's a 7 o'clock again on Saturday night against Bent. Like, I mean, you know, I hate to say it, I'm kind of missing the early games. What's going on here with all these late nights? Man, give me a 6 p.m. or something when they're on the road, right? You want it to be a little bit later when you're at home. You're at Bud Walton Arena. People can get off work, get down there. 8 o'clock tip off in Austin on a Wednesday night. The heck are we doing? Whatever. First meeting between, the historic rivals, right? In an SEC matchup. How about that? Arkansas leads the all-time series here, like 87-68, something like that. They got a healthy lead in the all-time series. 27-42 on the road. These teams opened the Moody Center, literally, it's brand new, for a charity exhibition a couple years ago. That didn't go well, if you guys recall, but guess what? Didn't count. Who cares? Listen, if the Purdue game and the Kansas game don't count and they're not reflective of, what's to come in the season, neither is when you get the hell beat out of you at Texas down there. That was crazy. I'll never forget that game. The first man versus boy situation I'd seen under Eric Musselman. That team wound up going to the Sweet 16. But the last time these two teams met in the regular season was that opener in 2018, right? The Armed Forces Classic. Y'all remember that? Who went there? I didn't. I wish I would have. I'm trying to remember if did John go down there? He might have. I have to ask him on Inside Arkansas Live later. At any rate, look, a loss here does not dash the hopes. Don't do that to yourself. If Arkansas loses this game, it's not, it's over. That was fun, fun while it lasted. Nah, that's not the case. It doesn't dash your hopes, doesn't ruin the season. But my goodness, a win here would serve as just a potential season flipper, literally. I mean, it would really boost up that resume and also, prove to everyone. It's kind of like Cal said on his radio show, like, went and got this one, played a great game, Kentucky, and now you want to validate yourselves. That's what you could do to fans who might still be skeptical, media who are hesitant to jump in here, and just the college basketball world. Tell them that the win in Rupp was not a Super Bowl moment so much as the moment when the switch finally flipped on for this team and they started to put it together. Critical game for both teams, honestly. As much as Arkansas could benefit here from going on the road, beating the Longhorns in Austin, Texas, they're in a better position than Arkansas is right now. But, buddy, they really probably want to avoid the ding that comes with dropping this one at home. It's going to be a quad one opportunity for Arkansas easily on the road, and it'll stay that way the rest of the year. But it's a quad two home game for Texas. And like losing a quad two game is not the end of the world, but there's just so few of those in the SEC that you don't want to be the team that has them. And like I said, Texas is a little bit ahead of where Arkansas is right now. But they're one of about 4 or 5 teams here that you're hoping to make a move on if you're the Razorbacks. That list includes Georgia and Vandy and Oklahoma, and staying ahead of LSU, whatever. And maybe, we're halfway roughly through the SEC slate. So there's going to continue to be some ebbs and flows there, but those are kind of the teams on your radar. Can you get past those guys in the pecking order here? We talk about a potential season flipper. Why do I say that after one win? Because it's a huge win, a quad 1A. Just it immediately doubles what you've got on your resume to go along with that Michigan win on a neutral. Those are two signature wins right there. And you got the game with Georgia. And it's like you're slowly starting to put this thing together, but you have put yourselves in the conversation to be in the conversation. Now you just got to continue to track in the right direction here. Joe Lenardi put out his most recent bracketology. Arkansas's names on it, not in the field, but in the next 4 out. So in the 5 to 8 teams out of the tournament. You want to get into the first 4 out? You want to get into the back end, the play-in game territory? Go beat Texas. Go beat them on the road, and people are going to start taking you seriously. And it's going to turn Bud Walton Arena into an absolute freaking nut house on Saturday when Bama comes to town. That place will be rocking. It should be anyway, because I'm a firm believer of the split this week, and I think they're going to find a way to do this. I think they will. You lose both, whew. I mean, it's going to be tough on you. So let's talk about the game itself. What's the deal with Texas? What are they all about? Well, they kind of mirror Arkansas in a lot of ways with how their season has gone. They stumbled out of the gates in SEC play too. I think they started 0-3. They just began their road to recovery a little bit earlier than Arkansas did. They're 15-7 overall, up to 4-5 in the league now, 25th in the net. So that's good for them. A lot of that is, similar to Arkansas. They don't really have any bad losses. They've just got a couple more better wins. They're 6-7 in the first 2 quadrants. Arkansas has only got 3 wins there, so a little bit of catching up to do. The Moody Center, the building is awesome. Like for anybody who, I know we've got, fans down in that area who might be attending the game, do it. I mean, if you're on the fence, go. The Moody Center is awesome. Like the venue itself, brand new, state of the art, high tech, Tito's everywhere. That place was really cool. I was impressed with that arena. It's not going to be Rupp Arena levels of hostile, but it's a good atmosphere in there. It will be. But they're not unbeatable in that building. I mean, like everybody has a home court advantage in this league, but it's not crazy in there. Let's see. They've lost 3 games at home this year. I mean, all reasonable. I mean, UConn, Auburn, and Tennessee. and they honestly they did not play well against UConn. They just got their butts kicked start to finish in there. But the Auburn and Tennessee games, they battled in. They won in SEC play at home, but got really pushed by Missouri, Texas A&M. That was a Tremont Mark. Not really a buzzer beater, but in the final seconds there to put them over the top, a big comeback they had to make in there. They got blasted by A&M on the road, Florida on the road. They lost a close one at Ole Miss. It's this is an interesting team because when they're firing on all cylinders, I mean, they've got a lot of talent on that roster. They're kind of as good as anybody, but they remind you of Arkansas, where sometimes they just look out of it, man. Something ain't right there. So they can look really good or really bad. You just hope you catch them on the right night. In non-conference play especially, I remember watching them a few times. They just looked uninspired, maybe. Like, man, you got some good pieces here, but it's not really clicking. Does that sound familiar to anybody? But a lot better lately. Seems like they're kind of starting to find themselves, establish some identity under Rodney Terry. So let's see. I think that this feels like a game that's going to come down to shot making. I don't want to oversimplify it here. It's like, yeah, duh. You got to make some shots, Curtis. Good one. Brilliant analysis. Glad we tuned in. But in all seriousness, you've got 2 teams here who really do a fabulous job of taking care of the ball. Arkansas doesn't turn it over much. Texas doesn't turn over much. I think they're 12th in the country in the lowest turnover percentage. So you're going to get your looks, like who's creating the best shots and who's able to really knock those things down. Or can you find a pathway to getting some steals and some turnovers? We'll see. It just hasn't been the trend for these 2 teams. Texas, they shoot it well from 3. They shoot about 37% from 3. Arkansas is up to 33.5 on the season. And but they're both about the same in terms of volume. Like this is not going to be a team that comes out there and shoots 35 threes in a game. They'll probably be kind of like Arkansas in that 20 to 25-ish range. Good free throw shooting team. Texas is. Arkansas is getting better. Have you guys noticed that? I think I looked and they're up over, I think they're like 72.4% or something now. You can live with that for a minute there. They were sub 70. Now they're 67, 68%. You're like, well, I mean, it's a team full of shacks here. What are we doing, man? So that's coming around. Both teams good there. Texas, they don't play at a super, super high pace. They can get out and run because they're a pretty athletic group, but I think they're 212th in adjusted tempo. And I think that might bode well for Arkansas in this game. This might be where you get down to kind of back to where you were last week, not with the quality of basketball, but in terms of where these games are played. Now, I think maybe we feel a little bit better about Arkansas's ability to score a little bit more. So maybe this is a game that's played in the low 70s. Might be where you're at just from a possession standpoint. They're fine, but not exceptional on the glass. It's not a team that typically racks up 18 offensive rebounds or anything like that. You'll see that they're pretty long and athletic, but they're not huge or overly physical in the front court. Let's talk personnel matchups a little bit, and we'll kind of break it down in tiers here. Maybe who's the star? Who's the guy? It's a freshman, Trey Johnson. Remember, Muss recruited him pretty heavily. He winds up at Texas, staying home. He's the best freshman in the SEC for my money. 6'6" wing, averaging 19 a game as a true freshman, 38% from three. He is an absolute bucket. I think he's the best freshman Texas has had since Kevin Durant. I mean that. I mean, he's good. We're talking lottery pick here. I'm guessing that Carter Knox probably starts on him, just like naturally, positionally, but it really doesn't matter with the way Arkansas switches. All these guys are going to have to be prepared to guard him here. Can you hold him around that average? Keep him under 20. If you do that, I think you're in a pretty good spot. This is a guy who can pop for 30 and beat you. And he's had some games where he's been real quiet in the first half, but it kind of gets to crunch time and he can put it in takeover mode. And I remember him in high school as he was just a banger of a catch and shoot guy, deep range. But he's got more game off the bounce than I remember. Got some toughness, some swagger to him. He's an alpha out there for a young man. So it's going to be a really important matchup for Arkansas. And this is a fun dude to watch. You don't want him to have one of his moments against you. How about a familiar face in ugly orange, right? I mean, we looking at you, Tremont T. Mark. Can we please not do the thing where the ex-Razorback kicks our butts? Can we just not do that? Can we skip it this time? I hope so. I really don't. What do you guys think? This doesn't strike me as like a huge chip on the shoulder or something to prove type of deal for T. Mark here. You know what I mean? Like he hit the portal and he was back home to Texas before Muss was out and Cal was in. He only spent a year in Fayetteville. All of his teammates besides TB are out of here. Like, I don't think there's bad blood or, it might be a little nostalgic for him. Like, oh yeah, I wore that uniform last year, but I don't know that this is going to be like a super motivating type of thing for him. I don't know if they'll probably talk to him in the pregame. I'll have to go check Texas's stuff and see, but I don't get that vibe from this. I think it's just a kind of a cool storyline maybe for Arkansas fans. He's not putting up the numbers at Texas that he did at Arkansas, but still a really important piece to what they've got going on there. And we know what he's capable of. 9.6 points per game, shooting at about 40% from the field. Like his efficiency's down a little bit this year. But whoever's checking him knows the drill. When the ball hits his hands, it ain't leaving unless a shot's going up. We remember the ball stopper stuff, but we also remember what he's capable of. Sit down, respect the mid-range, keep him out of the paint. And if he winds up beating you as a jump shooter, well, so be it. But you don't want to send him to the free throw line a bunch. You don't want to let him get down to that left hand. So it's going to be an important matchup for Arkansas. Like I said, he had that game winner against Texas A&M, who we know firsthand. He just loves to play the Aggies. This ain't the Aggies. This is the Razorbacks, buddy. Who's the X factor then? Like we know about T. Mark. We know Trey Johnson's their best player. Who's their X factor? I think that would be Arthur Kaluma at the 4. You guys remember him? He was on that Creighton team that Arkansas played in Maui. Kind of a hybrid, like jumbo wing type of guy. their version positionally, I guess, of a dude Thero, 6'7", big body, about 225, polarizing. He's the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde player. When he's rolling, Texas is rolling. He looks like a draft pick. When he's not, they're very beatable, and he can cost some games. I mean, he's that kind of player. Putting up good numbers, 13.6 points, 8 rebounds a game, shooting 45% from three on decent enough volume. He nearly beat Auburn by himself. That was the reason they got back in that game at home. They wound up losing. I think he went for 34. Just kind of went nuts. Big matchup for Thero here. This is the key matchup. If we were going to play that game, this is the one I think for Arkansas that they need to win. And particularly, I want to see Thero taking it to him. Like, can you go at him and get him in foul trouble? I think he might have a hard time dealing with Thero around the rim. But at any rate, like, he can get turnover prone at times. So, like, if you were going to get some turnovers and some opportunities in transition, he's a guy that could give that to you, because sometimes he starts to believe that he's a guard, trying to do too much off the bounce, trying to make plays that aren't there. He thinks he's Draymond Green or something, turn into a jump shooter off the dribble. Those are things that you want to live with, but don't let him get confident, because when he gets hot, he's as good as anybody down there. A couple other names to know. Jordan Pope. Who remembers that name? If you remember the name Jordan Pope, then you were tapped into the portal board over the offseason, because he was on there for us. Firecracker on offense, man. Not afraid of the moment, big game potential. He had some big time game winners for the Beavers last year. And like, he's got a 40-point game under his belt this season. This is a dude, 6'2" guard, who is a scoring minded lead guard. And he's easy to forget about or overlook a little bit when you have a Trey Johnson, who's going to be a lottery pick, when you have somebody as important as Kaluma, somebody as experienced as T. Mark. Pope's good now. So he's one that you're going to have to bottle up as well there. Good player. In the post, Caden Shedrick, he was at Virginia and transferred over to Texas. Man in the middle, 6'11", 230. Nice player, but he's not it's going to be a little bit different, I think, than what we saw the other night. He's not going to bully Z in the paint like Amari Williams did. Like, they're just not going to throw it down there to him every possession and let him go to work and kind of dominate that one-on-one matchup. It's not really his game. Solid player for him, good defensive piece, averaging 8 and 6, pretty solid rim protector. I think that there's a bit of a drop off in the front court beyond him, but this does not strike me. I mean, we'll see what it looks like when they get out there, but this doesn't strike me as one of those, oh man, really tough matchup for Z, or like, what are they going to do with this guy? They need to double. I don't really get that vibe. Hopefully that winds up not being the case. A few other things to watch, and then we'll wrap it up and get out of here. Man, energy, intensity, focus, right? We did a whole show about it yesterday, but man, the letdown factor is so real in a spot like this. They 30-piece LSU over the weekend, but we know what went into this Kentucky game for Arkansas. It could be a really emotionally, mentally, physically draining type of deal. How do you bottle that up and then carry it over into this one? I think the question is, do you want to fight your way back into the NCAA tournament as bad as you wanted to beat Kentucky? Because if so, you got a hell of an opportunity here to get yourself right back in the thick of that mix. We're going to know right away, I think, how this game's going to go. You'll be able to tell coming out of the gates what this is going to look like from Arkansas. Let's try to avoid that relapse from Nelly Davis. He's been slowly kind of working his way up. Oh, okay. Ball's in my hands a little bit more. All right, I'll take more shots than just threes. Now I'm scoring more, but it's not very efficient. And then boom, breakout game, put it all together against Kentucky. No backsliding. Keep moving forward. Arkansas is going to need good games like they got Saturday from Nelly pretty consistently to get to where they need to be. It looks like he's getting more comfortable. The confidence, the swagger starting to come back. Big spot for him here on the road. And for all those guys, like, you need stuff out of DJ and Carter and everybody else. But I do think Nelly kind of profiles as, one of the guys there who could really, really help you. What to do what they do, I think, is another question here. again, like I think this is a pretty good matchup for Z. I would anticipate he starts again. I don't know why he wouldn't. So maybe it's not that big of a deal. But man, wouldn't it be nice to just get something out of Jonas? Like what you were getting even late in non-conference play. Think about the Michigan version of Adu. Or even the Florida and Ole Miss version of Adu earlier in SEC play. I mean, he's playing some pretty good ball in there. And maybe his his injury or his limitations or whatever, he's not going to be the 30-minute a game near double guy for you, but can he be 15 to 18 minutes and be a factor when he's in there, especially defensively? Can you get that rim protection? Can he be the guy that snags the defensive rebounds when you need it? And yeah, if you can hit him on a pick and roll or a dump off and he dunks it or whatever, great. Got to be able to get something out of him. Then if not, at what point do you start handing those minutes to Brazil? This would be a time you could get away with it, I think, a little bit more with him playing the 5. But I think you're looking for minutes for Brazil in there because Thero's so valuable for you at the 4. And with Carter coming on, you don't want to play Thero as much as the 3. So then kind of limits your ability to get Trevin in there, but he's been such a plus for you. So maybe that's a way to get him more minutes. I don't know. Shot making, we talked about it. Like, what's the middle ground? I mean, I'm not anticipating Arkansas is going to go shoot 55% from the field and make 13 threes at Texas. But can you just not slide all the way back to 38% from the field and, making 4 threes in the game? Like, what's that middle ground look like? Can you just kind of break even with your averages there? 44, 45%, knock down 7 or 8 threes. You do that, I think you're going to have yourself in position to win a game. So, in terms of predictions, I kind of want to pull up like KenPom or whatever, because the Bet Saracen line is not out as I'm recording this. I don't know what it looks like. I'm sure that Texas is probably favored on their home floor. I don't have a real good feel for how much. All right, here we go. According to KenPom, Texas is an 8-point favorite. They're on their home floor. I don't think the line is going to be that high. Maybe 4 or 5. I gotta be honest with you guys. My head, my brain is just telling me that this has just got let down written all over it. It really does. But my heart says that Arkansas has finally put it together. What are we going to go with? I mean, I say screw it, right? You never pick the Horns over the Hogs under any circumstances. You just can't do it. So we're going with the Hogs here. And if they do, it's going to be a celebration on the Pod at the Palace postgame show. Make sure you guys tune in for that. Back to the regularly scheduled programming, since we're not on location at Texas for this game. As soon as the final horn goes, the Pod at the Palace postgame goes live. So make sure you tap in with us. And win or lose, Andrew Ellis and I are going to be on there breaking it all down and getting your reactions. And we'll see you then. Looking forward to it. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas on the Pod at the Palace. Y'all have a good day. Enjoy the game. See you this evening.